I believe God exists. I was wondering what you thought about this idea.
Well, you saw the name of the show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I used to be an atheist too, so that's why I wanted to talk to you guys. I'm sure I'm probably not going to say nothing new here, but I'm sure you've heard it before. God is one, oneness. God is love. So what do you think about those ideas? Maybe that, God being one.
Can I ask you a question, Ralph, just quickly? You said that you used to be an atheist and you now believe in God. Did you have an experience that changed your mind, or can you tell us a little bit about your process?
Yeah, I had a few different experiences. I was raised Christian and, had the whole hell thing thrown at me for a while, and that put me in that hard place as a believer where you start questioning your beliefs because of, it's a little bit traumatic to get hell thrown at you when you're young. So I went through that.
Do you believe in hell now? Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's fine. I believe in hell now. I believe more of that hell is an experience, I would say.
Okay.
So I don't really think it's a place you necessarily, it might be a place that you go to, but I believe in experiencing hell while we're alive.
I definitely believe in that too.
That happens.
I've had some experiences that made me think that I was going through hell. So you grew up in a Christian family, you had those experiences, and then what? So you had one change of mind to move out of that, and then another one to move back into it sounds like.
Yeah, it was questioning. At first, I would say, I guess, I started to find a lot of the, hypocrisy in religion to be ridiculous. And I was getting really upset about how there was a lot of people following the religion and not really believing it. That was one of the big things that deterred me from it, is that a lot of people they claimed to be theists, but they were truly agnostic. And I know you can be an agnostic theist or an agnostic atheist, but at the end of the day, the point was they were following a religion that they weren't really 100% convinced in.
Yeah, I can totally agree with you. That infuriates me as well, that level of hypocrisy.
So you asked specifically what we think about the idea that God is love, and I think my main reaction is I don't really know what that means. I understand the concept of love. There are a lot of people that I do love. It's got nothing to do with a God concept in my mind, so maybe you could clarify that a little better.
Sure. Well, let's talk about, I guess, love. What would be your definition of love?
It is a strong emotion or attachment that you feel for other people or sometimes things. That is a very vague question because there are a lot of different meanings of love.
Yeah, of course. And words are kind of ambiguous in of themselves. But so would you say there's any difference between love and lust, or in your head are they kind of, is there blurred lines?
There are certainly differences between them, and they're not mutually exclusive.
I want to tell you a story about this because I certainly feel like there's a difference between love and lust, and obviously there's an overlap at certain points, but I feel that I have experienced the difference very profoundly because I came out of the closet as gay at 27 years old. And before that, I was in relationships with women. And I would say that I totally loved them. Like, we had deep, committed, romantic relationship, which I think of still as love. And I think that at least some of them, they would still think of it the same way. But I did not lust them. This is very, very clear in my own mind. So I think there is definitely a distinction between those feelings. We can experience love for our family and our friends, right? Where there's no lust involved, right? So I think that, we can tease apart those emotions a little bit.
All right. So, that was one of the things, actually, that when I was an atheist, started to actually reel me back in is learning about the distinction between love and lust. And for me, it's
how did you go? I mean, like, it takes you a while to get the idea of lust, because when you're a kid, you don't have any. So I'm not sure I see why you had to learn that distinction, except to the extent that you're talking about. I mean, when you're a teenager and your hormones start kicking in and you feel lust for the first time, I know there's a lot of confusion going on in the teenage mind about, like, oh yeah, I totally love her or him. But I don't necessarily know, like, except for a very narrow definition of lust or definition of love, I don't see how you would have to why it would take religion to understand that there's a separation between those two things.
It doesn't take religion to understand that.
Okay.
I think the understanding of that may eventually lead to religion or maybe belief in God, I would say.
And how did it work for you? How did that?
Well, it was understanding that lust is more desire for, pleasure, or and realizing that love was desire for the well-being of something or someone. So it is based on the same thing in a sense. It's based on desire, but when you have desire for another's well-being, in a sense, you're extending. It's like you're investing in them. You're extending yourself to them. So that's what I mean when I say love is one, or you can use them interchangeably. Love, the way I understand it, I would define it as oneness, seeing no distinction between myself and yourself.
I kind of like that.
I don't.
Well, we're going to disagree. I like that definition. I think that's nice. I mean, I come from a humanist tradition that is all about relationships and the importance of human dignity and trying to promote that in all our relationships. And I hear in what you're saying a kind of echo of my own beliefs, which I would phrase it, I guess, that I think you said that sort of investment in another person's welfare. You desire another person's welfare. And that is kind of right at the heart of humanism. I think I'm with you, Ralph. I like it. I just don't put God in there, but, that's a little distinction.
I mean, where I don't agree is that, I think that you can love somebody and not feel like you are losing your individuality separate from that person, because that way lies codependence, and that's not necessarily healthy. There are a lot of couples who sort of take pride in the idea that now they like all the same things. They never do anything apart from each other, and I actually feel like it is healthy to have a partnership in which you like a lot of the same things and also are deeply invested in the other person's well-being, but also have separate and distinct lives where you can pursue separate interests without feeling like you have to become part of the Borg, basically.
I would agree with that. I would say there's a very fine line between love and lust, and you just need to find a way to balance those things in your life.
Yeah, but what does any of this have to do with God?
Love has everything to do with God. I mean, I'm not going to go ahead.
I mean, if you define God that way, then sure, but I don't believe in God, and I do experience love, so I don't see the connection.
Well, all right. It all goes back to oneness. I mean, all right, let me try to think of a better way to maybe describe this. Is another thing that I believe in that's a little bit hard for me to maybe communicate is I believe that there is no model of God. I don't believe that you can really make a physical model of God because God is oneness. So that would be like me trying to point at something with my finger, but my finger is a part of the thing I'm pointing at. Does that make any sense?
I mean, yeah. You're speaking in a long theological tradition, I think, of definitions of God in which the term God encompasses everything, is sort of a ground of all things, so that it's not a thing. God is not a thing in the universe, but is what permeates and enables the universe to be. So I think that you're speaking in a theological tradition I recognize. I personally find it a way of speaking that doesn't clarify my own experience. Like I have experiences of love, I have experience of connection with other people, I have that desire to be invested in the welfare of humanity, but I personally don't find the term God illuminates that experience much for me. But I mean, I do hear what you're saying, and I understand the tradition in which you're speaking.
Okay, yeah, so I guess building off that, I would say that God, the way I see God is the creator of reality, creator of all that is. God is being.
Disagree.
God is in a sense. So, what helped me, I guess, kind of come to this realization was, it was understanding, I guess, about archetypes. I don't know if you're familiar with archetypes and
Jungian archetypes.
I was.
Well, I imagine that's what Ralph was talking about. I could be wrong.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's the way I see it, there's patterns in reality that we can't escape from because they're very innate in our reality, and one of the things that comes up time and time again is archetypes. Like I would say, oh, you know what? Here, sorry, I distracted a little bit. You know what? I have a better way to explain it. Is we have senses. There's ways we perceive the world. For the most part, all of us, we perceive with our base senses, and at the end of the day, it's all information. So there's certain patterns that comes with that we can't escape. So if we're analyzing, for instance, light, which is visual information, light breaks up into certain patterns. It breaks up into yin and yang. You start off with the white light, and it hits a prism, and when the two meet, it creates a matrix, in a sense, a rainbow.
Okay.
And the rainbow itself is also made out of that same pattern.
Yeah, I think, maybe this metaphor is helpful, but I feel like we're wandering a little off topic. And so if I can just bring us back, suppose that I claim to understand concepts like love and like union with other people, or oneness, as you call it, but I don't see any value in bringing the word God into it. I don't see how that clarifies our understanding of those concepts, and I don't have use for that word. What would you say to that particular concept supplies in order to improve that understanding or that idea?
I would say it's, let me think. I'm trying to think of a good way to explain it, but it's really hard. I don't really have anyone I can talk to that's really learned on this stuff around here. But one of the things that kind of brings it all together for me, I don't know if you ever have heard of the method of loci.
The what?
I don't
method
think
of loci is the memorization technique.
Okay.
Well, anyways, what it has to do with, I don't remember the whole story. It's a pretty old memorization technique where you memorize things using the spatial part of your brain.
Okay.
And the way you do that is...
Yeah, I mean, I believe in people having extraordinary capacity to memorize things. I still don't know where you're going with regard to God or religion, or hell for that matter, which you brought up at the beginning.
All right, I'm sorry. Let me try to figure out what exactly is it that you want to know?
I don't know, but maybe you can try calling again next week.
Sure. All right.
All right. Yeah, I mean, think through some of these questions and maybe give it another shot later. Thanks for calling.
Thanks, Ralph.
Yeah.